My mama always said that there was levels to these things. And one of my friends said HNL. And I said, well, what is HNL? And he said, whole nother level. And I tell you, getting time to spend with one of my best friends in the entire world today is going to be a whole nother level. It's not about where we start. It's not about where we finish, but it's all the fun that we have in the middle while we connect with our friends, build our brothers. And this has become a brother of mine, and probably one of the fastest friends I've ever had in my entire life. Probably the reason why is because of his heart and the person that he is, but also the comedy, the freedom that he has just to be himself. He is the number one motivational speaker in the world, the absolute motivator, James Dixon. But to me, he's just James, the guy that I get to talk to every single day. He's Uncle James to my kids. And I tell you, the things that he's doing in this world, I was saying just earlier, we were on an Instagram Live, and I was saying that it's amazing to be able to have a man who is such an incredible motivator, but a connection point. When you meet him, he's not just about a speech. He's not just about words. He's about truly connecting with who you are. And what I was saying is, it's amazing because people come to him with a jumbled up thought process of what they want to do, and he streamlines it in to a message that will reach the masses. And he's been approached by the Republican Party, by the Democratic Party, to write speeches for both sides. So no matter what you're hearing in the world, if it's a clear communication, most likely it came from the ultimate, the absolute motivator, Mr. James Dixon, which I get to spend time with him, and you get to spend time with him today. So why don't we get this party started?
On my mind, I got two shines, so every day I climb. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over and over again. Make no mistake, we continue to win. Defeat never known, cause I will not lose. They wanna mimic my moves, but can't walk in my shoes.
The champ is here. What up, Mr. James? How you doing, buddy?
What's up, man? I gotta tell you, no one has ever called me HANIC before. This is the first time. When you told that story about your mom, I gotta tell you, it's the best intro ever. So I'm just honored.
It's HNL, man. HNL.
HNL. Okay,
Whole nother level.
Another
Whole nother
level.
level.
Okay,
Yes.
different one. I misheard you.
Hey, let me give you some topics. You could choose from any of them. You can hit on them, right? So, number one, desire without knowledge creates unsavory situations. Number two, the filter you use will be indicative of the results you receive. Number three, foundation. The foundation of power, strength, and victory is wisdom, knowledge, and guidance. You also can choose H and L. What is your natural state? Have you identified your gifts and are you giving them away? Work your land. Come around. What comes around goes around, or whatever the saying actually is. They will get theirs. Or be good to all people, speak truth, make people tired by watching you work. Take the high road, be allergic to lazy. Which topic would you like to hit first?
Man, I tell you what I really like is that whole aspect you were talking about, the foundation.
Yeah.
You know, if we could start with that one, because I think there's something really good about that.
Okay, here it goes. It's the foundation of power, strength, and victory is wisdom, knowledge, and guidance. Why is that one important?
Well, listen. So here's the thing about wisdom, right? It's something that you have to acquire. People say, but you can actually ask for it. It's an available thing that everyone could have, but we don't. We think that it takes experience to get wisdom. I believe that's just the opposite. If our Savior could be touched in all points like we have without temptation to actually do it, tempted without ever sinning, then surely we can experience wisdom without having to have done it. People's like, how can you talk to me about not being poor if you've never been poor? Well, poor is a spirit, poor is a mindset, poor is more than finances. So anyone can tap into that. So if I lack wisdom, God says you can ask him and he will give it unto all men liberally. But here's the thing, to ask for it liberally, sometimes to ask for that wisdom is means that you have to become a student of other people because you can learn it from it. When you live through an experience and you tell me that story, I adapt that and I can learn from that because first, when I first met you, I never heard of Ebedat. You were like, you know, Ebedat, and I was like, oh man, the black dude that live over on Nail Street, and I was like, I knew him, man. He was hard to get along with, and he's like, no, I'm talking about a whole tax structure thing. I'm like, see, so that becomes wisdom that you gain from others. And so wisdom is something that I can glean, I can ask for, but I can also it must be utilized.
Well, James, what about I want to switch. We're going to switch back and forth with topic, but a thing that I've seen with you is you didn't allow your story to stay the same. It continually evolved. And although the basis and foundation of your story was there,
Yeah,
you allowed it to almost, you allowed yourself to move on. Right? And not stay
yeah,
in that place. And I think you're a master of this because what you've been able to do now, when we have conversations now, the conversation is completely different than 6 months ago. And it's different than six
yeah,
months before that. How can a
yeah.
person not stay so locked to their story and their message that they miss out on the opportunities that are coming forward?
Well, I'm glad you asked that. You got to have a Kelly Cardenas introduce you and make you have to tell the story differently. You know, so so listen. One time Kelly got up to introduce me. We are at the Wynn Casino. We weren't gambling, even though he may have a gambling problem because he's always trying to bet on the Titans. But anyway, let me do this. So as Kelly was saying that, I don't know who said that, but I was sitting there, and Kelly goes, "Let me introduce James Dixon." James, and he tells the crux of what most speakers would say is, "That's my story." He just told us. So now, what do I say? But the great thing is about it is that you put in enough reps, you develop as a speaker, and you realize that if all you have is that one story, you really only have a one shot to be able to. Once somebody puts it on YouTube, you're done, right? Because you have just one hit, you're a one hit wonder. But what we are as artists, it's something that my downloads come from God, man. And literally, I mean, the messages and the messaging comes from that. And so when you introduce me and you tell that aspect, I think in that moment, let me go ahead and give that because I read the room. You set a great tone, and sometimes something you said sparked that, and then it brought a different story out of me, which gave a different impact to the audience that they needed. But you have to have somebody that pushes you to evolve. You do that for people. You push them to give something more because the vibe can't just be, I come in, I'm going to give you 4 ways to shoot the perfect free throw. First of all, you want to flip the ball and begin. When Steph Curry, and when people are always telling other people's story, whereas you set it up so that we're freed up to tell our true story.
What about when a person comes to you? Because when a person comes to you, I've talked about, alluded it to earlier. If you have a jumbled up mess of word salad, which we experience quite a bit, person comes to you and like, hey, I've got all these things and I got this story. You can streamline something and turn it into a message. Like when we were there in Vegas, you instantly connected the room with your I believe it was your uncle, that
That's right.
was a veteran because it was a room of
Yep.
veterans. And then at the
Yeah.
end, you had them almost singing your song. How do you
Yeah.
take a person's word salad and turn it into a couple of words that are so powerful the way that you do?
Man, listen, I got to tell you, one of the things that I've noticed is, let's take, for example, you ask, like, what are you going to do about the border wall? And let's say there was hypothetically a woman that was running for office, and they ask her, and she goes, well, let's talk about that. And the nervous energy is there, you laugh, and you're like, but it's really buying time. Because she's trying to think in the Rolodex, which line do I go to that's safe and how do I escape out of this? So if I'm talking, people will just think that I've answered it if I just go ahead and say something along the lines of, well, first of all, Donald Trump said the Mexicans would pay for it. Did they? And they were like, but what are you going to do about it? What? She will never answer because there becomes an insecurity. But what you can do is like find out what's your real message and get to it. So how do you help someone like that pull an answer out of all that word salad? You go ahead and find the tomatoes, man, and you go ahead and you say, listen, here's the substance of the whole message. It is this, that the wall has been even if you view this, if you believe that, you go, the wall has been a separating line between people. My thought and philosophy is let the wall come down so that I can bring people in because I think they add value and grow the population and I need a nanny. Whatever it is, but you got to find the way to tell your story and to tell it authentically. And I'm able to help people just find that because I think the biggest challenge we have is what if you were running for the biggest office in the world and you didn't know how to tell your story? And even when everyone is cheering for you, saying, hey, we're putting you in a safe environment, say what's on your heart, and you don't know where to start. Man, that would put you. And imagine if that happened 2 weeks from when everyone went to vote for that, vote for you, and you didn't know how to tell your story. So all you could do is rely on the fact that perhaps you like me because of my race. Man, what if you could erase that and just give your message? Because the message can linger. When you think about this, Kelly, tell me if you agree. Martin Luther King, I don't think about the age he was. I don't think about the color. I think about the message.
Mhm.
It's the message, not just the color of the messenger. None of that matters. It's the message. If you can find your message, it creates a new method for everyone to follow. I have a dream. The words resonate no matter what year, what time, when you hear it, that all children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Look how deep those words are. Helping people to find that. It goes beyond that. Yet, here we are still running politics on color.
So, how is it that a person can look at something from a positive standpoint? Because when we look back at your original story, every side of it could be like your whole message could be all the trauma that I went through. I really was beat down and all these things. And then you could stay in that part. And what you start to do is you start to attract a bunch of people who want to stay down in that part. But you've switched it around where almost every single thing that you have, whether it be an advantage, disadvantage, you seem to put a positive spin on it. And it's not like you're pandering with it, but it's truth. How can a person do that with their message?
Ooh, man, you got to be on this one. Listen, there was a time, man, where all I knew was pain and suffering. And so that's what I shared with. And what you did is a true statement. Misery loves company. Everybody that was in that same pain was like, man, I say that, man, we there with you. Right? And then what happens though, when you sit at the bar of sorrow so long, people are like, oh my God, man, here comes that guy with that sad story again. I don't want to hear that right now. No, it is, but when you start to learn some things, you start to realize that the loss of my grandmother that I mourned so much, I didn't realize that I could leave the grave. You see, because she's not in that grave. But I always thought she was because that was the last place I saw them lower her. But that was the shell. She was released. And so the same thing has to happen to you as a speaker, as an individual. You have to leave the grave behind because at the grave there is no conversations that take place at the grave, only the honoring and the leaving of a bouquet, a flower, that you can only leave something there. But you should leave there. Because when you leave that, man, you start to thrive and you start to live, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm going to live big enough for the both of us. I'm about to live so big that from the heavens she can see and hear, and God can say, well done at the end of my life, or I can sit here and talk about woe is me in my life. It's a choice. Man, to grow has been beautiful because then it forced people to grow with me. If all you ever wanted to hear is like, born in the inner city, murders around me. Well, man, that Boys in the Hood story gets old, man. We saw that. Fishburne don't look the same anymore. We got to go ahead and move forward with that story. There's got to be an evolution, man. Theo Huxtable has to grow up some point, and then you come back with a better story than just being one of Cosby's kids.
You definitely don't want to be one of Cosby's kids right now.
Or Diddy's kids. You don't want to be Cosby or anything with a Y. You want to avoid.
You want to stay out of it. But let's talk about this too, because we've had sidebar conversations. I didn't ask you if anything was off limits today, so I figure that nothing's off limits. We've had sidebar conversations with this where you have that, the overcoming part, you start to see a whole different side. The circles that you're running in now are ridiculous. You know what I mean? And the exposure that we have in life, we were just talking about the fact that, my favorite artist is Maxwell. And he happens to have the same birthday, May 23rd, in the same year, 1975. And my 50th birthday is coming this year. And we're talking about how we can get Maxwell. But we're not saying this in theory. This is a real conversation.
No, this got to happen. We're going to make that happen.
So, James, how is it once you start to experience that stuff, how do you then expose the next generation to it without them getting a sense that, this is just how it is?
Well, listen, I'm going to tell you this, man. This generation needs to see love. Like, they need to see what romance looks like. Pretty Wings works in any season, any time. You know what I mean? That is what's different about him. Like, man, so the one thing I love about you, Kelly, is like, you may be 50. Damn. I mean, you may be 50, but it is like, but you're young at heart, man. You're still vibrant because when we were growing up, 50 was old. And that's an old man, right? Because we assume that because those guys believe that, well, it's time to wind down. When you realize, man, I'm winding up. I finally have a balance of experience, life wisdom, all this stuff. And all of my superpowers are coming together at one time, and I can put it out there. And what young people need to see, man, is that they need to see that vibrancy from us, but they also need to see the fact that we are introducing them to something that's still cool. We gave them rap. We called it hip hop. They evolved it. It's just rap. Now it's just mumble. But we had to give them Maxwell. They need something other than Usher. Usher out here burning people. Let it burn. And now we're talking about. Now we're talking about giving them something that strengthens their relationship. And Maxwell is still cool, but we're gonna make that happen because I want to bring him in proximity to you. I want to be in proximity to him because one, he doesn't threaten your relationship. You don't have to go to concert and worry about beating him up. You can't beat that.
But how about
he can sing Pretty Wings, and I'm cool with it.
Hey, but I really think we just saw him, and he ended with Pretty Wings. He came back. That was his encore. I think that his encore should be Ascension. Ascension, I believe, is the sexual healing of our generation. That song, Ascension, that is to me. I think that you finish with Ascension.
No, Fortunate, baby. Fortunate is that jam. When he sings that song, oh, you don't know about Fortunate, do you?
I do know about Fortunate, and I love it. It's more of a ballad, but I think an encore, if you bring down the house, Ascension, Don't Ever Wonder, oh, come on.
No. See, I didn't even know you were out of rhythm. Now I know that you clapped like 3-4 times, but we're 4 times. I didn't even know that until just now. They just came out.
I will kick your leg out from under you.
Listen, when Maxwell sings Fortunate, man, that is like, man, the fellas join in. That's one song that we can all leave out of there with, and it stays in your head. That's more like, I think he should start with that.
That's a banger. I mean, Ascension, and I mean, he did Till the Cops Come Knocking. He did something. I mean, I'm a massive fan. It was awesome to be able to see it. Now, how is it though? I mean, you get to experience some stuff, and I'm gonna. My son probably won't listen to this episode before it happens. But get this: One of my friends, his name is Rick Burkholder, amazing guy. He's the vice president of sports medicine and performance for the Kansas City Chiefs. So he obviously works with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, the whole nine.
Right.
Well, I'm taking Maddox to the game on Sunday to see the Chiefs and the Raiders. And my buddy Rick hits me today and says, hey, send me your email because I got some special stuff for you, right? And in doing this, my son gets to experience some things based off of his dad's relationships. How do we foster where our kids will continue on in the relationship as opposed to just eating the crops of the plants or the seeds that we planted?
Ooh, doggone, that's a good one. Man, I'm just having the conversation with my son about the same things. You see, you gave Maddox, I mean, his name just sounds powerful. It sounds like a gladiator. Ladies and gentlemen, Maddox. But with my son, he is forced to go under the same name. And so people will think he's an echo of me, right? So then, but he's his own individual. Um, but I put him in rooms, and it was like he understands, like, wow, what a cool thing. He got walk red carpet or whatever he might get to do. Some things that Dad got him into the room to do. But then I have to go back and have a conversation about it. Like, this isn't just a selfie moment. It's not just a cool thing. This is a result of relationships. So I have to show him how we farmed to get here. It is not just what we eat from here. This isn't the grocery store, right? Instead of us going in there and look at this like Dad put me in the Costco of life and I can pick what I want and not have to pay a bill. No, I got to show you how to stock these shelves. That I had to start off from nothing, build a relationship, get known, then connect. But son, if you don't build these relationships, I even asked him, "Hey, did you notice that guy has a son your age? Yeah. Have you guys exchanged numbers? No, then you should begin to build that relationship because the two of you are on this plane and you can be pushing each other to greatness." Pushing it for like Maddox, one of the great things about what you've done with him is that when he's in any room, he realizes that these are all great folks and he builds his own relationship with them rather than just be like, he could be that kid that sits in the corner that's weird, that doesn't talk, but it's not him, you know? No, man, he'll come over and probably one of the coolest moments, right? So that I saw with Fanatics was that uh, you went around the room when you were given something, a memorable moment about the interactions. And most kids, if you start to say something about them, will just kind of be like, whatever, just kind of play it off to hide the emotion. But when you started talking about a moment and what it means, your relationship, man, you had to get up and go and put your hands on the shoulder, reminder that I'm always with you. I may not be able in your presence, but my presence is always here. I love you. And what came out of him was so pure that as it went around the room and I looked at that and I was like, that's a relationship that will always see value in the rooms you put him in because he has value in who his dad is. But that's because of your investment in him. Most people can't draw from the crops because they never planted the seeds or they never watered it as it was growing. So you're struggling with trying to connect. Jalen Rose and his dad looks just like him. They played. If it wasn't for his dad, he doesn't get there. All of those things, and so he became a competitor of his father rather than a complementer. Boy, that's something different there.
Let's talk. Let's talk about Keystone, and we're not talking about the cops. The Keystone.
That's good stuff.
um, Keystone is something, and this is for me. It's not just a gathering, not just a leadership time. For me, it's a culmination of relationships that I watch you, and I'm so proud for you to be able to see it. How has this come about, and what is this thing that everyone's talking about now? And
You're about to love me because I learned something from you. I'm about to spill one of your secrets. No, it's not the hair gel you use because I actually have some of it. It's actually Stay Soft Fro in a small can. Well, anyway, but this is the thing about the Keystone Resort. I went to go speak at the International Christian Film Festival after meeting Neil McDonough, everyone's favorite villain. And we started. We were at an auction thing with Jay Leno. These different guys are all there, and they're bidding on different things, talking about stuff. Talking about it takes 4 hours to tour and see his cars, right? 4 hours just to see the cars, not discussions. Just if you went around and looked at every car, it's going to take 4 hours. That's what he said. Anyway, I'm sitting there and I'm like, man, I can't believe I'm actually in these settings, right? And then I remember something that Kelly Cardenas said. Yeah, I got to meet the star of Ghostbusters, Criminal Minds, all those guys. The show, the whole cast was like, but they also got to meet me. And so when I got there and they were talking, and they were like, "Man, we watch you, we listen to you," and I was like, "Oh my God, you really?" So on their phone, they're looking up YouTube, they already follow and stuff. And I was like, man, how about that? The very guys that I looked up to are now watching. But I leave there and I go speak. And as I'm speaking at the International Christian Film Festival, was just a week away. So here it is. I had to be available to do something spontaneous and for free. Ah, see, that's a lot of folks. I'm not going to do it. I need 20,000 for me to show up and be me. Then nobody needs you, right? And so but when I got there, um, they were like, "Hey, can you get up and present the lifetime award to him, lifetime achievement award?" And I was like, "Wow, I'm honored that you would have me to do that." And then they were like, "Wait, uh, um, they had some other star celebrity showed up and they were like, we're going to have her do that." So I had to have a spirit of flexibility instead of saying, "But you told me I was going to have 35 minutes and you're going to cut it down to 10. I better get my 10 extra minutes or I'm going to throw a fit in here." And they're like, "What do you want to talk about?" "I want to teach people my principles on patience." Like, yeah, okay. Right? That whole workbook is gone now. So but so I get up and they were like, "James, can you we had a musical artist not show up. Can you do a song and can you speak for a few minutes?" And I was like, I Kirk Franklin. I don't really sing. So but I was like, "I'll do it." So they asked me to do it again. So anyway, but I'm just gonna do it because they asked me to. I should have just broke out and started busting a rhyme, one of my original songs like Paid in Full. All
MC
right.
Troy D.
Anyway, yeah. So anyway, man, I sit there and I share my story in 10 minutes. And there are people who think that you need ample time to be able to do it. The truth is, if you're gifted, you can make the most out of a minute. You will do it in a second. You will do it in a heartbeat. It doesn't take you. If you take, I can just get warmed up in 20 minutes. Then you're not that guy. But so I went ahead, man, and I shared my heart in 10 minutes or less, and I'm out quicker than you can get Geico. And soon enough, sure enough, here's a guy who happens to own a resort, and he gets a hold of a guy there and says, "Hey, can I get that guy to come?" And he's like, "Hey, would you come and speak at our resort?" And I was like, "Wait a minute, I watched this. Kelly, you went and you got us the Edison House. November 9th, we invade the place again. And I watched how you did that, and I thought, you developed a relationship with them in such a way that they were like, we want this for our place. You're bringing value. Yes, we got all these famous people to come through and all this stuff, but what you do is so unique that we will pay you to come do this thing for us." They built a relationship. You could have went anywhere. You could have kept going. You had a number of relationships. You could have been in people's offices, yet you found an environment that was inclusive, that was exclusive. And I was like, let me see what I need to do. So instead of me sitting there saying, "Hey, I like a free opportunity to speak from that stage," yeah, it's an engagement. I saw it as a reservation could be ongoing. And so I said, "Hey, how about instead of me coming one time, we get an agreement and I will come speak for you, but you will give me the place free, minimum 3 times a year for the next 5 years. 5-star resort. You give it to me free and I'll come." And it was like a 5-star resort because I know the value of having a venue. And if I don't have to pay, then I can bring more on my menu. I can do more with that. And so then I was like, wait a minute, I could go in there and be like, "This is James Dixon," but I was like, nah, Man, I want to bring some value add. So what I did was I actually asked them, what is it that you guys would want? And they said, we want some entertainment brought here. We want people to shoot movies here because in Tennessee, we got all this talent here. We want to expose it to that. We want to do movies. We want to do television. We want to do that. Then let me go get some of those people and bring them to fruition. And then I was like, but I also got to feed people with something. So I got to bring substance. And so I said, let me bring my brother. Let me bring Kelly Cardenas. Kelly, just think about this. Where I went from watching ETV and not knowing Larry Namer who it was, to being there with Greg Reed and our mentor and brother, um, seeing him there, to hanging out at the house with him, and still I didn't connect with him there. And then seeing him there with you, connecting there and seeing him there and all that stuff, still didn't. And so when I posted that I was going to Tennessee, Larry wrote me and said, "Hey, I'll come where you're going."
Wow.
But I didn't realize that he had been watching my interactions with you guys before. I didn't ask him, he asked me. And so every one of the things, the venue to the people on the menu, came because of relationship building and people you put out, it comes in. Man, so you asked about sowing the seeds that our sons will see the harvest from, showing them that, man, it wasn't a dollar. It was the investment in relationships with Kelly Cardenas that gave me the mindset. I took the Edison house and turned it into the Keystone Resort.
One of the things that I haven't got a chance to be able to talk to you about, but one of the things that impressed me the most when we went to Atlanta was not my Uber.
What humility. Listen, I actually, I wanted to see, I actually have a remnant from the car you you were
Is it
in.
a, is
Guys, you
it the
got to tell you,
hubcap that
Kelly
fell off?
Cardenas is so, like, no. When he was riding in the car, um, Kelly is so loving and so humble that he didn't call Uber or Lyft. He callmyhoopty.com. A car came up and they were pushing it from behind to get it there. And he was like, "Man, if you push it, when I'm in, it'll jump start, and then you run and jump
Oh
in."
my gosh.
And this guy had more dents in it. I still have the door handle. Look from Kelly gets into that car. This guy, we're like, the people are like, "Is he gonna be okay?" And I was like, Kelly will have a story out of this. It's the first hoopty. This thing had pinstripes from every car it ever hit. It was amazing. A red car,
It
blue
had some.
car.
You said that it didn't have 5 stars. It had 4 dents.
I said, man, we were like, where you get a car like that from?
I felt so bad because you didn't realize that that my hoopty driver had his window down on the other side.
Oh
So
no!
all of you guys bagging and laughing and pointing, you thought that his windows were tinted so
Oh
he couldn't
no!
see you, but he could see you and he could hear you. And it was a very
Man,
silent, it was a silent and bumpy ride on the way back to the hotel.
man, please, man, you may tell me your friend Keith Hale didn't mean to offend him that way. Yeah. I sure didn't mean it.
But the thing, I'm trying to get to a point here, but we won't. We'll just stay in this, James. As what I saw there in Atlanta, outside of the 5 people that came, was was that you were willing to give your time to shine light on every other person, and you took the
Yeah,
smallest amount of time.
yeah, dude, you do that all the time, and so it's just so here's the thing. I've already seen, I know what I can do, right? And I've already gotten a lot of opportunities, but there are tons of people who never get a platform. And that's all they want. They were like, and it kind of reveals 2 things about them. It gives you an opportunity to kind of see if they, in the church environment I grew up in at a Baptist church, we had a trial sermon. If you said God called you to preach, they're gonna give you the mic and be like, Ladies and gentlemen, Reverend James, he's 12, but he's about to get up. And if he sucks, then that's the end of his career. That's how they do it. So, right? So you're 12 and you got to get up and be like, I want to thank God for waking me up in my right mind. He's a mind regulator. You just start saying quotes. Jesus is a way fixer, a heart regulator, just saying stuff that they've said. Can I get amen? You're like, and then you have no kind of life experience to draw from. So you're just like, you're Humpty Dumpty, sat on the wall, but Jesus picked him up and put him together again. And they're like, yeah. They just, whatever, right? So, but this was kind of like when these guys like, I feel like I'm called to speak. I want to do this. It's in my heart. It's in my head. I just got to live for that. And you're like, okay, listen, I'm gonna give you the opportunity to do so. Let's do it. And then they get up and they go. It goes from theory to, like in reality, you're like, oh boy, I really am not prepared. I didn't know I'd freeze up here. I didn't know I had these bad habits. I actually thought I was better than this, right? Or whatever, but it gives them a framework of like reality, like, hey, I really need to go back and work on this. That is not just about me and attention seeking. This is not just a TikTok video where I do the latest dance. I need to really provide something to people. And then you sit there because some speakers that we found didn't even know what they were up going to say. They just, what I mean? They had this idea and it sounded great in their mind until they start talking about it. And we start looking at each other like, and then technology moves left and right, and you have to know it when it does it. Thank you. And we look at each other like, what was that about? It's like they haven't even found their voice yet. There's just something they had an ambition for because they wanted the attention for it. You got to have an intention for what you have to give because who can retain when you don't even have anything that can remain in me? When you get off stage, if I don't even know what the hell you talked about, like what are they talking about? I don't know, but it was good because you can get up and sound loud, give emotion, or you can say easy things. I love when you say to people, Bill Gates was quoted as saying, love thy neighbor as thyself. And people are like, "Man, write it down." And you're like, no, it's actually God that said it. But the fact that we were going to give it credit, like if Bill Gates said it, we were going to give it attention. Not realizing that, man, God is a bigger source. And if you can get it from him, you get it directly from that. And you look, you don't even have to cite that source, Yeah. The word itself has power.
What about James? I think that I've watched you do this, and I've done it out of not out of inspiration, but out of desperation. Is you seem to find places where you can practice your craft, right? Because
Yep.
putting in the reps and doing it is far like even if it sucks, if you do it 100 times, you'll be a little bit better at it than you before you started. But most people are just, like you said, waiting on, like if you get 12, if you're a speaker out there and you get 12 opportunities a year to speak, that would be one a month. That's a lot. That is most likely not going to make you better. You're going to have to put in 100, 200, 300 in a year or even in the months. How can you create those opportunities for yourself as opposed to sitting back and just waiting for them to actually happen and for the phone to ring?
Let me do this. Uh, you said that, you had a dream, you had a goal, you had a dream. The vision was to create my next guest needs no introduction. You take a program like that and you do this, and you're like, well, how are you going to perfect the skill set of being able to interview people, draw from that, and have all this other stuff? Well, the only way to do it is to do it. The only way to perfect your jump shot is to put up so many that it becomes muscle memory. Steph Curry doesn't worry about, man, throw me the ball and I'm going to try to get it up there. Man, am I going to hit it? There's no self-doubt because muscle memory kicks in. He's done it so many times that as long as if the ball gets in my hand, it's already gone, right? And if I leave that jumper out there, I already know it's good. He can turn his back because he knows how it feels when you release it the right way. Same thing here, brother. What we have to do is be able to release so many reps that it becomes what we are and how we are at all times. Because then it doesn't become I need to turn it on. Give me a minute, let me get wrapped up. And like, yeah, I'm James Dixon coming to motivate. I'm like, no, man, it's who I am. And I'm just expressing more of that to you, whether authentically, off stage, backstage, behind the stage. In fact, I want to do something that is talk about reps. You've been putting together one of the best looking YouTube channels, best podcasts, great coloration. Yeah, you got some stank looking shoes behind you, and it's not about that, you know. It's not a fact that
Hey,
LeBron's the best.
at least he didn't put his son in the NBA for no apparent reason at all. That's, I mean,
But to make history, that's what he did. Listen, this is how you know if somebody's the GOAT or not. Since we're addressing, we're talking about Jordan LeBron here. Like the fact that you could be so good that your son can have a heart attack, not finish, not even play the college year, average less than 3 points a game in college, leave and still get drafted and get more attention than the number one draft pick, and have Ken Griffey Sr. and Jr. come to the game to acknowledge this Black History moment. You know,
oh my,
the two black kids would. No, listen, they were showing up to show this love of their fathers. And whereas Jordan, he wasn't good enough to get his kids in the NBA. Like LeBron is so good that his kid can get in the NBA and shoot a brick, get no rebounds, and we celebrate it as history. Listen, the lowest performing draft pick of all time just winning the game. You know, that's how good he is.
I'm so glad we stay on subject, man.
Yeah, yeah, but back to the serious thing. Man, we gotta make this a part two because I would like, if you wouldn't mind, to do a thing where we do simulcast both channels, man, and we talk about something. We can talk about other things, but that way, because I need the world to hear more of you, and because I truly believe that you have been the key. You do all this stuff, you're hyping up other people, but let me do this for everyone watching. When you Google and sometimes it comes up that my James got his start at Secret Knock, but that's not it. My real start started with this podcast. It started with Kelly. I was standing up in a gym. We are having a conversation. I'm using their Wi-Fi because I didn't have it. Yeah. See, man, I used to be ashamed of the facts of what I didn't have. Now I'm like, man, that's the best part because now that I have, I can sit here and say, man, I know what it's like to be abased. I know what abundance is, and I can tell you that it's much better to have. I know people like there's great lessons in being poor. No, Mother Teresa was right. Get you a jet and let people think you're poor. You know, it's 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 to be blessed and without ever letting the possessions possess you. And what you've done for me, man, and opening the door to the world and opened my eyes up. First time I ever stepped on a beach in my life happened because of the connection that began with you. I meet Greg and then connect with him. And first, actually, to be honest with you, I wanted to beat him up because when I first talked to Greg, the little dude was talking to me like, "Hey, get your butt here," and then hung up on me. I said, wait a minute, maybe he just got disconnected. Let me call him back. Hey, I said bye already. Click. I was like, man, how big is Greg Reed? Because he's got to be 7 foot and 300. He got to be Shaq size. And then when karma comes around, when Kelly, man, I love how you have my back because you let him get beat up by some guys at a yard sale because of the yard in the front yard as payback for me. Thank you for looking out for your boy. No,
Hey, James,
there's more to it than that.
let's go backwards a little bit because we were talking about reps and we were talking about putting in reps and how important
Yeah.
this is because I watch you and it's almost like you're omnipresent, right? And there's people there again, they're waiting and they're saying, I want to speak or I want to do whatever it is that you want to do. But they're saying that, okay, well, I'll wait until someone asks me. And you seem to be putting in the reps over and over again. How can a person do that? Like
Uh,
whatever a profession they're looking at.
all right. So, okay, here's where the reps come in. Whether I wanted to or not, whether it was a crowd or not, I should say, I put in the reps because I knew what I was trying to represent. Where I knew that There's an audience of one if there was nothing else. And that was me. There were days that I spoke just for my sake. So if I have an hour and a half drive somewhere, I don't waste it listening to the radio. I will go over and I will listen to a music, a song, and I'll let that maybe set it off. Then I'll turn it off, right, to give a thought. And I'm like, man, I'm gonna just talk on that. And then as I'm driving, I see a Nabisco truck. And I was like, man, if I were speaking to Nabisco, how would I speak to them? And I was like, man, listen, first of those Keebler Elf, da 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 da. Start off with some humor and I do this, but I'm practicing, I'm getting reps. And so I've already spoke to Keebler. I drive by and I see Ford and I'm like, I'll speak to them. I see a Chevy, I'll speak to that corporation. Because all of that is getting in reps that it's just me and an audience of one, me and God. As I'm doing that, the more that I'm doing that, the more I'm like, ooh, I never said it that way before. That's kind of cool, right? Or this, I've never heard somebody say this way. And then, so I've got all these reps in so that when you introduce me to a rep from one of those companies, I've got a message already for them. So that when they meet, and I was like, hey, da 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 da, and I say one of those one liners to them about their company or whatever. Like when I met, can I give you a real example?
Do it.
So I'm doing the reps. I was working at the factory at General Motors, and I was building the trucks. And yet now, November 12th and 13th, I'm speaking again for General Motors. They brought me back after having me just last month. The GM Defense Department that makes it for the military asked me to come, and I gave them this punchline, and it is now the marketing for this from the assembly line to the front line. And when I met them, I was like, hey, so you guys are from GM. I was like, yeah, I want you to thank you because I wouldn't be walking if you guys didn't provide the insurance to let me get a prosthetic. So thank you for that. I'm third generation at the factory. My grandfather worked there, my grandmother worked there, my mother worked there, I worked there. And I was like, and so to leave from that front line. And now I see that you guys are working with the Department of Defense. Every time a military vehicle came by, we would take extra care on those because of what it represented. And the lady goes, wow, can you tell that story at this place? But see, I did that rep when I was driving already. So that when I met them years later, and I had 1 minute and I wasn't on stage, I got that engagement after I had spoken the day before. The people that I wanted to speak to weren't in the room. But when now I'm in a room with somebody else speaking, but I'm sitting at the table with decision makers, and I give them that one punchline, boom, and they go like, hey, is it possible for you to come? And they were like, and literally, what would it cost to have you speak 2 days? Can we put you, do you mind if we put all our marketing people together? And then maybe we could turn this into a Super Bowl commercial. It was an audience of one, the number of reps, there's probably 10,000 to one. So I could have one moment that will open up the ability for me to be able to make a memorable moment that will last forever.
I'm going silent just so that can settle in just for a second. But let's get back to the fact that LeBron is not the GOAT and that Michael Jordan is dominated, and didn't bring his son in for no apparent reason. And Michael Jordan, this is the clincher, is Michael Jordan never attended a Diddy party.
No. Michael Jordan was the original Diddy. That's how he got more. He got all these extra kids now. LeBron had just one, and there's alleged. Yeah, he was there. He was there. Doggone it, man. But it almost is like some of the folks. They said are better known. Like, man, I used to love R. Kelly, but now you can't say I loved him. I mean, I don't. Now you got to put a qualifier to it, right? You almost have to do that with an artist. Like, I love LeBron unless he comes out guilty out there. If he's on, if he's on the manifest of Epstein Island, I don't know.
I wanted to see how, and I want people to understand how quickly gears can change. And James, go back. Let's move back into our conversation earlier. When you just have a message and you have to stick to the message, if you get knocked off that message, a lot of times you can't recover. But people just witnessed you go from a story about GM from the assembly line to the front line. And I mean, you sent me, this is unreal of what's happening. I throw you something, you're able to run with it. how can a person foster that type of freedom to be able to move through, whether it be through comedy circumstance? Because this, I notice, happens in life with you, right? So you're not looking for the perfect circumstances. Brooke said it the other day, right? She said this. She said, it's not that deep. Do it anyway. So and this is what she was saying. She was like, get out of your feelings and do it anyway, no matter what the circumstances are. How can a person foster that in their own life where they have the freedom to be able to switch gears when they need to be able to switch gears, but still stay true to who they are?
Dude, I think it goes this way. When you're comparing yourself, you have this image of yourself, right? You're comparing yourself to Robbins or whoever else like that. You think you got to be a certain way, or Les Brown and be serious all the time, but come up with one-liners, and you have to be a certain way of projecting yourself. You can become a prisoner and become a character. So let me give this. You can become Mr. T. The problem with Mr. T or B.A. Baracus, right? When you play the Mr. T role, you end up being just that, a pity the fool, a pity fool. So that's all you get to known as. You have that one liner, and so you can't play. JJ couldn't play any other role. Dynamite, he couldn't. No one else could even use the damn word anymore because of him, right? So, but you have to be able to have so much flexibility in who you are and what you have in your repertoire that even if there's an interruption, if in the middle of Holyfield's championship fight with Riddick Bowe, there's a guy that came down in a parachute in the middle of the ring, and the two of them still snuck in a jab and then stepped back, let them push the dude out the ring, and just kept going. Because your mission you got to be able to accept distractions, incorporate them, embrace them, and not act You ever seen a pastor do this? Uh, Excuse me, will you tell the kids to have a seat? Yeah, we still got another. Sit down, Johnny. Yeah, I'm still speaking. We don't move when the word of God is being spoken. The moment he's done, he's already quenched the spirit for the whole room. Because now all we're looking at is Johnny. I forgot what you were talking about. But what if you did it that's like if a kid get up to run around, if you incorporate it and said, man, that's right, you can get so excited that you got to run. And when we can't run, good thing that we got the kids to run it forward. Come on, Lou Johnny, come high five me here. That's it. Come on now. That's what I'm talking about. Have joy in your life. You can incorporate it in, switch it in, and whatever happens, embrace. But if you have this idea that you're supposed to be JJ, you're stuck with that. Or I'm supposed to be Baracus. Don't be that. Be all of you. Kelly, that's one of the beautiful things about you. You can be serious and take us down Proverbs, or you can get into your problems talking about, hey, I'm a fan of the Texans or I'm Titans, where you're struggling because both of them were in the same city. It's Warren Moon or, you don't know what to do, but that's okay. You can be confused mind like that. And as long as you understand that in that confusion can actually be puzzle pieces that put together a better picture.
How can you keep people accountable? And I've seen you do this. You keep people accountable and you call things out for what they are immediately. This happened in Atlanta. We were working, and a lot of times people will sidestep stuff or just act like it's not there. That's not what you're saying. When you were saying about the kid getting up and running around in church, yes, incorporate it, celebrate it, look at it from a different perspective. But there's also the side that I've seen you call things out that sometimes people will be like, oh, let's just let it go. But it was a teaching moment at that time. How are you able to balance those kind of things?
Man, let me tell you this. Some people will say, listen, you get a certain age and you just, you don't give it. But that's not true. I always care. But the fact is, I cared so much about the kids. So let me give the scenario, paint the picture some for you guys. Kelly and I are working, we're impacting lives. Everyone's having a great time. Kelly says, hey, listen, guys, move forward some for seating, right? There's people sitting in the very back row as if Rosa Parks didn't ever exist. Come to the front, right? And he's trying to be a civil rights leader there, telling folks, no, come on, folks. So people move forward. But there's someone who's already been up telling and exhorting people, love God, do this, do that, encouraging, and now you're encouraging them to do something, and they're they're closed off because somebody's telling me what to do. I'm a grown man. You don't know what I've been through. Because our resilience, um, the resilient nature that got us through something can also be the rebellious natures that blocks us from something. And you were encouraging him to come forward for his benefit. And yet he got up and he would rather walk out, this young man did, rather than embrace. And sometimes we can walk out on our biggest blessings. And I didn't want him to leave with that there. And so when I saw him still in the hallway, I knew he could hear me. And whether he hears me today or it finally shows up a year from now, I had to address it to speak for the future him that can receive it, but for everyone else as well, myself included. Here's the accountability. When people are moving forward, here's why. Now that you know the why, you are resisting something for no reason. Here's the second thing. There are people here that can do something for you, but you make us resistant to help you because of what you just displayed. What you have can make people come to your yard. Who you are can make people block you. You know, it is about your character that shows up. It's not just your talent. No matter how talented you are, eventually everybody gets tired of just the talent. And talent ages itself. But relationships grows like fine wine does. It improves. It has more value. I was trying to give him the opportunity to add value to his future. And so I called it out for everyone. And then all of us spoke about it, but afterwards, and it was a growth moment for many. But if we're not here and we're not going to impact the future, then why are we here? It can't just be feel good stuff. You got to have somebody. You hold me accountable for things. I hold you accountable. There are times I'm like, hey, Kelly, I'm about to go off. And you're like, no, no, turn down. I was like, all right, I heard somebody say LeBron wasn't the greatest. And you're like, no, no, James. And because you're empathetic, you're like, you're right today. Today he is, you know. But and I loved you when you wrote that. I wrote that down. That was last week. Kelly wrote this, said to this, and this is a quote directly from Kelly. James, I've thought about what you said. And just as sure as I love my son, I realized that since since LeBron loves his like that, I should also be a fan. And I was like, man, that's amazing that you came to that revelation. I wrote that down. It was never mind. I want to, let's go back to our subject. I don't want to get off subject.
What do you wish you could unlearn about this process that you've been going through in the last couple of years? Because you and I have talked about it, where people say to me all the time, and I always will stop them when they say, James has skyrocketed. James has just taken off. James, and I'm like, you don't know the work that James put in. You don't understand, like, you don't see that backside of it. So this is simply, for me, watching you and all the things that are happening, which are so amazing. I'm so proud, and I'm so proud to be your friend. I'm so excited for you with the speaking engagements, with people coming to you, which, if you're out there and you're a speaker, honestly, there's no other choice except to spend time with James Dixon to be able to craft your message. Like, it would be silly if you didn't. But for me watching it, it's simply a harvest of all those things that were planted, right? And to be able to see it, it has been unreal. Oh, wow. Wow. I thought you blinked your eyes.
No, man. Hey, should I see you again? I'm here.
James just took a nap, is what it was.
Yeah.
He was just blanking out on us, is what it was.
Yeah.
I don't even know where I
So,
was, man. Dude, I had
but
something
no, I
nice for
got
you.
you. I got you. Ready? You ready? I got you. Ready?
Yeah.
You're gonna love it. So, the truth is this one thing that where were we? I thought I had it. I had it.
I thought I
And
had
then,
it too, man. This is
no,
why,
no, no.
like, friendship is so great.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like, I had something for you too. Then you blinked your
Man,
eyes,
it
and
was
then
deep. It sounded
it was
all
deep. It
good.
was
No, no, no.
good.
Here's what it is.
I was
When
leading
people
up to
say
it.
you skyrocket, you said people
Yeah.
say you skyrocket.
Yeah.
What could you take away that is like you regret people? I
No, but
regret that.
here's the
That
question. Here's what it was, man.
yeah,
Is, what do you wish you could unlearn about this process that you've
yeah.
gone through in the last couple of years?
I could. Here's what I wish I could unlearn. I listened to people who said it's not that easy. You see, a lot of people said it was not that easy, and so it won't. They made it seem like it'd be impossible, and so what stopped them was stopping me because I believe that they're right. You can't make it. But then I realized, wait a minute, we're different things. We're different levels. We're different people. By levels, I mean whether it be height, stature, experiences, background, culture, you name it. All of us come from something different. And so stop taking other people's experience to be your rule. You got to set a new rule. The new rule is this: there are things that I'm going to take wisdom from people who've actually done it, and I'm going to incorporate it into my life. And I'm going to use the timeline to quantum leap my own life. All I needed to do is see it, and I can become a source and not just keep them as a resource. You understand? It is, Maddox gets the benefit from a 49-year-old father's wisdom, and you get to put it into him. He gets to take all of that wisdom, have access to it, and if he grabs it, look how would you dominate life if what you know could drop into a 12-year-old? If you could drop into a 12-year-old with what you know today, how dominant would you be in life? Sports and everything. I mean, you would just dominate everything because of what you know. Well, this is how I feel. When I'm around people like that, I incorporate what they have and I stop listening to all those things. So if I can unlearn anything, is to stop listening to people say it won't be that easy and all those things. They make things so difficult when in reality, if I would listen to those who've already got a roadmap, I can map quest my way faster by listening to them and then using tactics and tools that are modern day. What Larry Namer did with E, starting off with doing movie trailers to make a show and then switching it up to reality. I can learn from him. Oh, wait a minute, I got one for you that you're going to love. You ready to this?
Yeah.
Do you remember there was drive-in theaters were big in your day,
Yeah.
before I was born. So they had drive-in theaters and they had the 40-foot woman. Remember that was one of them, The Monster with 10,000 Eyes.
Yeah.
Well, I ended up meeting the director of those movies, and he was telling me that people said, listen, TV was going to ruin movies, they said. The invention of the television destroyed movies. That's what the thought was. Everyone said it. So here's what he decided to do. Rather than believe that, they were like, he said, 16-year-olds still need to take somebody's daughter somewhere. So we're going to make some of the worst movies ever because kids don't care about the quality of the movie. We need money. We're going to make some movies. And they were like, they made the 10,000 Monster with 10,000 Eyes. They took a pot because they didn't have any money left to make a monster. They took a pot, stabbed it with a bunch of screwdrivers and put holes all in it, then put water underneath it, boiled the water, and the steam came out of it. And that was the monster. That's all they had. But it was like, they created something in spite of everyone saying that this couldn't happen, where they were able to see a gap. And if you can see the gap, you can fill the gap. And once you fill the gap, you're like, wait a minute, I can now tell others how to get here. So when people ask, like, James, if I regret anything, it was listening to people who told me that the rules are this way. No, you got to first break some rules and then create the rule. The one thing is that there's nothing new under the sun. If God did it for one, he can do it for you.
I want to call a shot here. I believe that at some point, James, we've talked about it. We've talked about it with multiple conversations where I'll call you and then you won't call me back. And then I just repeatedly call and you don't. It's probably your Android. So if you're an Android user out there, let's have
God bless you.
Let's have a moment of silence for you, because you just haven't made good decisions in your life, and you obviously need the good Lord, sweet baby Jesus with wings in your life. But we've talked about this, and I think that it would be cool to be able to call the shot. What do you think a TV show of us looks like? Because we're already in, I would say, development, because we've been talking about it for a long time. What do you see it? What do you see it looking like so we can laugh about it when it actually happens?
Well, it would be like The Rock and David Carradine got together. We created, we created the show.
The guy from 8 Mile and Denzel Washington got together. a budget Morgan Freeman and and Captain Caveman got together.
Look, man, one, I know it'll be epic because just the chemistry when we talk, we need no script at any given time, and as long as we keep your brother Rob away, we good, because remember he was talking about tree grows something else. Listen, all I know, we got, we build something off of something authentic and people come because man, the world needs light and life, love and impact and spirituality without it being forceful.
Mm. Where are the two places that they can see this live coming in November?
Wow. You know what? I was thinking about the Edison House on November the 9th. Ladies and gentlemen, coming to the stage, Kelly Cardenas. But he's not coming alone. He's bringing the Baron, the dude that brought us yoga. Baron is like, he's like the most zen guy that could still beat you up. You know what I mean?
Oh
I
yeah.
love that dude. He is just that cool guy. And then you got Keith Hale coming. Keith, man, is a coach that became a coach because he went through coaching to become qualified to do so and has the life record to back it up.
Yeah.
And to see that guy show up, and man, I love this, man. The Edison House on November the 9th, you got to go Eventbrite to grab it. But if you go there, you're going to have great music and stuff. Dude, I got to hear the most insulting singer of all time, a black guy that does country. He sang a song called 10 Toes Down, and this to amputees, and we don't have 10 toes, so it really didn't make sense. But outside of him, everybody else has been phenomenal. You brought Paul. Paul Scott, man, that dude's a major artist,
Oh,
man. Dude,
unbelievable.
I didn't even realize how many records and impact these guys have that you bring. But the Edison House, listen, seating is so limited. Most of the time, people hype up stuff and they're like, "There's limited seating. Call now." But no, seriously, this one is exclusive. If you don't get a ticket now, it's like being left out. If you could get in a circle and then get in that inner circle with people who are able to help you establish who you are, take you further, it's like this. You're the closest someone can get to being at the top of the Fortune 500 list of relationships, right? Because relationships have value. You can get the 7-Eleven version where you know JoJo from down the street that can get you a pit bull for $20, that's or you can get with a guy who is maybe know the founder of Rolex, the family has that connection. You bring them to those levels and you put them in a room where they get to really meet them. It's not just, I saw a person on stage. There are people there that will help you go through the stages of developing your story, helping you get bigger, helping you get better. And you do so, and you're never even bragging about it. So I'm bragging about it. Ladies and gentlemen, on November the 9th, we have the. Hey, listen, Kelly, I got the great one is on the phone. Look who I get.
Who's that? Oh, bring him on.
Hey,
Bring him
hey,
on.
how can I bring him on and you
Just
have?
bring it on speaker. Bring him on speaker and put it next to the microphone. I've done this before.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
okay, you
just
act
bring
like
him
you
on
always
speaker.
know
He won't
something.
even know.
Hey, Greg, I was defending your honor on here against this ugly guy.
Greg Reed.
I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes down to cool cats, right here, we should have a secret handshake because we got the three amigos going.
There we go. Listen,
I was defending you when James said that you hung up on him, Greg. I just wanted to let you
hey,
know.
we're talking about. Hey, I said the millionaire mentor starts off with he goes like this. Hey, listen, here's what you need to do. Click. You're like, hello. I think he went through a tunnel. He's like, no. He's like, listen, I just gave you the clue. I just gave you what you needed. That's it.
That's right. That's right. It's the 1 minute mentor, right? The bam 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 bam. But Jim,
1 minute abs.
I was calling you because you've been in my heart, and I've been seeing you pop up everywhere. And I just wanted to send you some love and admiration and congratulations for impacting lives, man. You're making a big impact, and it's being noticed.
But listen, you're the one guy that won't accept compliments. But brother, neither one of us are here. Kelly, you still haven't gotten him a good haircut because you and I have the coolest haircuts. But
Uh-huh.
but I love you and I thank you for who you are in my life, man. Thank you,
Well,
my brother.
back at you, brother. And Kelly, obviously, brothers forever. That was it. I just called to say, hey.
Nah, that's the coolest thing. Now that That's a call. Right there. He didn't call you, Kelly. Nah, he
Hey,
called me.
he called
That's
me, but I
right.
didn't answer.
Nah,
It
he
was
didn't
on there.
call you.
He
Man,
said
don't act
now.
like you had that
He
call.
said now I'm gonna call number two. Um,
Nah, he said, listen, I agree with you. Here's a text from Greg Reed that I want to share. If you don't mind, this is what he said right before the call.
okay.
James, I agree with you. LeBron clearly is the greatest. Anyone that disputes this is out of their mind. And by the way, Kelly is out of his. That was it. And then he called, and I just wanted to share that with you. That was direct from Greg Reed, the
But
millionaire
I got
mentor.
one right before that that says, "Hey Kelly, just wanted to let you know, James isn't really a good friend, but I just wanted to, give him a call because I saw you on the podcast with him, and I know that he's really down and needs uplifting. So if you could please let him know that Jordan was the best." And that LeBron's son shouldn't be in the NBA. Uh,
Oh,
that would be
that's
amazing.
crazy. This dude, he must have moments on the time because he just sit there and said, "Listen, I'm watching the show live, and I can't believe that you guys are going back and forth by my text when clearly Kelly's what is this? He says you have you have a loaner phone. You have Obama phone? Dude, I didn't even know you came from that. Dude, most people don't even know your story that you came from nothing like that. Listen, for you to have an Obama phone, but that's frugal. Listen, Kelly is that guy, guys. Most people go out and they ball out. That's not how Kelly does it. No, he got the free lunches, he got the free phone, and then he went and built his whole self after that. But he stays loyal to it. He still got that flip phone. And I'm just saying, man, the fact that you don't change, man, I love that. Way to
Hey,
go.
how crazy is it though? What just happened, right? And this is what I'm
Yep.
talking about: relationships gaining you access. I mean, that is one of the number one thought leaders in the world. But it's
Yep.
not a thought leader to us. That's Greg, our friend, and for him
Yeah.
to just give a call, how much? How much would it cost to be able to have Greg call you as a mentor?
Come on, man. Listen, first of all, um, when I met him, and I got in line because they were like, "Hey, you can get in the book. Could be this, that, and the other." And they were like, "Hey," and they were jumping in. This was Secret of Happiness was being developed, and when I didn't know, I thought it was free, right? Because he was like, "Hey, if you want to be in the book," so I'm like, "Yeah, I want to be in it." And so he said that we can only do 12 people because there's only 12 chapters. And so I got in line and I was like, I'm number 11, I'm gonna get in. And then I heard the price being mentioned. And I was like, man, first of all, I'm kind of rude. I cut some people. So I'm gonna go ahead and let them go in front of me because, man, one is not right, man. You know what I mean? It's just conscious kicked in. So I let 13 people get in front of me so I could be like, oh man, I was that close. I almost got in. Ah, and then I realized, and even though he knew that the truth was I didn't have it. And so what is why everyone was fighting to get in the book, he gave me the author.
Mm.
He gave me the relationship with him and he invested in that. And so what would it cost? It's beyond what I could afford. And the fact that the relationship is priceless to me. That's what it is.
Tell them about there's one other secret guest that is coming to the Vibe Room that you talked about, the Edison House, November 9th, that is coming in, that's flying in that day, that's actually coming from another place that speaks all around the world and happens to be the number one motivational speaker in the world. Um, who else is going to be at the Vibe Room?
Man, listen, the Jordan of speaking. I'm so honored to be coming. Because now you can't bash me. See, I just got it in there. Listen, I'm coming to the Vibe Room because, man, the vibe is. It's not just a room, man. It's an atmosphere. It's a mindset. It's a book. Go ahead and buy the book on Amazon Vibe, so you even get a concept of what it is. But when you get that, you really need to get in the community because in those places we get to be vulnerable, we get to be authentic, we get to share stuff. In any other place, you usually get the washed down version of us. What Kelly does is, man, we let down our shields and we build that relationship. And even here, when we're talking, man, I went through how to go about getting a contract with a 5-star resort with what you have because I saw it from him. But I wouldn't even told you guys that how to do it if it wasn't for Kelly. But we have that. So if you thought that was a nugget, wait till you see the how tos when you come to the Vibe Room.
But
Go to
wait till you,
Eventbrite.
hey, you can tell them about that. But also, we're gonna spend a full entire day. We're gonna have Larry Namer, who is the founder of the E Entertainment Network. If you saw The Blind Side, we've got the star of The Blind Side. When I say we, it's James
That's us,
doing
bro.
this. It's
No,
James
no,
doing
man,
this.
this is us.
But
Listen,
I
I
say it
didn't know
like
he
this. I say it like Debo, right? I say it's the bike could be both of ours, except you just keep it
It
at
is
your house.
ours, but listen, because man, Kelly, it's our relationship that fosters this, and it's everything that rubs off of that. We have Chris Kaufman, the founder of StockX, coming. You know, to have him there on stage and talking. Darren Dunn, he took a company from Utah called Zartico from 0 to 120 million, and then watch this. This is really amazing. He goes, I found that once I built it, I felt isolated, depressed, and lonely. And it was like no one talks about the weight of the crown and how everyone else changes their perception and relationship with you. And you feel like, where do I go? Because I have to stay in these roles. So that's why I'm saying to you now, we need to we need to get people there so that they can get access to those thought leaders because it changes the world, man.
Laredo, Tennessee is where we're flying into Nashville. Laredo, Tennessee, 5-star resort, Keystone. It's, I mean, how can a person get into this environment and be there for a full day, like a full day? And it's not what I love about with you, James, is it's not like you hit the stage and then you're out. You're around with the people, connecting with the people, knowing Larry too. That's who Larry is.
Yeah.
How can a person get a part to be a part of it?
All you have to do is go to Keystone Resort. Look it up. Keystone Resort. When you see it, I'm not embellishing 5-star. This is going to be amazing. It sits on 88 acres. There's a 1935 Rolls Royce that's out front that picks people up, takes them from your individual suite back over and all that stuff. They got great service. They have a great chef restaurant that's all in house, bowling alley in the place, you name it, interactive golf in the house, and all that stuff in the building. But everything is marble, it's high end, it's high class. But more than important, we will network and build time together. We're all going to be together. We'll take photos together, the red carpets together, conversations together. This is what's crazy. The tickets are $200 because the sponsor covered the bulk of it. So for $200, you go to a 5-star resort and you get access to all the. And I'm going to even do something. I'm giving time on stage to some people. I won't be speaking because he doesn't need me to speak, man. If Kelly speaks, he speaks for me. And that, Kelly, there's so many people who keep thinking of you as, man, he a great DJ, but DJ is more than what you are. LL Cut creator, Jazzy Jeff, man, he got dumped. They don't know you good on the mic, not as well as I do, but they're going to see. When you see Kelly up, when you hear him speaking, I mean, he'll do all the other things he does as well. But when you hear him speak, you'll see why we have been underselling. You guys who have been looking for somebody to come speak at your event, don't look at Kelly for an MC. Bring him in as your keynote speaker. Because when he speaks, man, that thing is a melody. That thing is impactful. You need him. I promise you. You don't need to listen, I know we got Les Brown and all these other guys, but Kelly will stand up against those guys. I put him up against anybody of any time in history. He's that good. I promise you that.
I appreciate you, man. Hey, I started the podcast.
Um,
You know why? You know them both. They're your niece and nephew. My my son for his 13th birthday, the first person he invited
That's right, man.
to dinner
Because
is Uncle James and Aunt Nikki.
because because he knows. Listen, this is the one of the things I got to say, Maddox. First of all, Maddox said this to me, and you will verify this. I said, Maddox, let me ask you, who's better? I was like, man, I mean, you've heard all these speakers around the world. You've been around people that are cool. Who's cooler? Who's more magnificent, me or your dad? And Maddox grabbed me by the hand, looked me in the eyes, and said, Uncle James, I choose you. And I said, what? And I was like, but your dad can hear you. And even somehow, I don't know if he tried to give me 100 or 100 fell somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it was allowance you gave him, but he had that in his hand. And I don't believe that swayed him. He said this out of his own heart. So Maddox, thank you for what you spoke over my life. That you had a choice between your dad and me, and you chose me. Maddox is that awesome, you know. I didn't even take the 100 from the kid. I mean, he was offering it, but I didn't take it.
Can you just give advice to my kids by name,
All right,
Uncle
okay.
James?
All
Just
right,
do
let
it.
me do
Just
that.
it.
I'm sorry, I messed that up. All right, here it is. This is going to be a word that will linger. Maddox, everything that we are doing is to hold space. But when you are ready, God's going to elevate you and put you in this space, and you'll take what we've done and go further. Your father has created a digital footprint that in the years when our voices are dead and gone, you can always hear us. And you always hear this. You are loved, you are valuable, and you were what we were investing in. Now, McKenna, let me say this to you. You carry such a spark of divinity in you that it is amazing. I thank you for your generosity of heart, for you make the best desserts of all time, that you create memories when people are around you. You're awesome. Your presence fills a room and you fill it with impact, with love, and encouragement. We talk often a lot about Maddox, but you're not the side step to that. You're not the sidekick to him. You are your own person. You are wonderful. You are amazing. And I'm honored to even know you. I can't wait to see what God has in store for you.
James, you're incredible, man.
No, brother, thank you.
For those of you listening to this very, very focused conversation that we had,
Very directed. We talked about important things.
but I love it because I reached out to you. This is how relationships happen. You reached out to me and said, "Hey, hop on live on Absolute Motivation." Tell them how many. Well, we're at 1.5 million right now with Absolute
Yep.
Motivation. Am I correct?
Yep.
More views than any other motivational speaker in history. Correct?
Yep. More views than TEDx gets. Man, I'm at 128,000 views per 1,000 views of TEDx.
Say it again and say it slow.
All right. If you're looking at TEDx, you would probably be motivated by seeing it has 41 million subscribers. But that number is as useless as a Kmart store today. It is known, but if you look up the views on videos, you'll see that they rarely get over 1,000 views. So we'll do 128,000 views for every 1,000 views they do. That's how much we've grown.
Wow.
It's not about having TED, it's about building you. Absolute motivation is something that's in each and every one of us. It's not a channel, it's a movement. And I'm so glad to have Kelly be a part of it. Love you, sir. Thanks for having me on, man.
You're incredible, man. I love you, buddy. And as we say, you're officially off the hot seat. Peace, love, and soul, brother.
HNIC.
Nothing more on my mind. I got two shines, so every day I climb. Work in the morning, work in the evening. We's achieving, cause we believing. It's for certain, we put the work in. We ain't stopped just because it's hurting. Right before your eyes, so it's coming to no surprise. The takeover is televised. Over and over.